In 1976, the body of child star Anissa Jones was discovered at a friend's house after a party. As authorities delved into the case, disturbing details emerged about the events leading up to her tragic death. Anissa Jones rose to fame for her charming performance as Buffy Davis on CBS's Family Affair. But, as is often the case in Hollywood, the glimmering life of a child star masked a deeper, darker reality. Sadly, Anissa's story was no exception. Born on March 11, 1958 in Indiana, she was the firstborn in a family that would soon experience upheaval. After her younger brother Paul was born, the family relocated to California, a move that would ultimately set the stage for her future in the entertainment world. However, difficulties emerged long before her acting career began. Shortly after the move, her parents separated, igniting a contentious custody battle over Anissa and Paul. The legal fight dragged on for years, ultimately granting custody to their father. During this time, Anissa lived with her mother, Mary, who was quick to recognize her daughter's talents. Determined to help her succeed, Mary took charge of nurturing Anissa's abilities. Though her approach may have been overly forceful at times, Mary was determined to nurture Anissa's talents, enrolling her in dance classes at the age of 4. Their new neighbors in California were charmed by the little girl and suggested that Mary take her to auditions for TV commercials. Anissa's appeal was immediate. By the age of 6, she had landed her first role, appearing in a cereal commercial. Over the next 2 years, she starred in 3 more commercials, showing a natural knack for capturing attention. Then, at just 8 years old, Anissa's life changed forever. A producer discovered her and cast her in the role of Buffy Davis on CBS's sitcom Family Affair in 1966. The show followed the lives of 3 orphan children sent to live with their wealthy uncle. Its wholesome premise resonated with audiences, and Anissa was a natural fit for Buffy. Physically, she was small for her age, which gave her an edge. Even at 8 years old, she could convincingly play the 6-year-old character. Audiences were immediately smitten, making Anissa the darling of the show. The audience fell in love with Family Affair and the character of Buffy almost instantly. With her blonde pigtails and irresistible smile, Anissa Jones charmed her way into the hearts of America's growing TV audience. She was an overnight sensation, but behind the scenes, the show was anything but easy for the young star. As Family Affair gained momentum, the demands placed on the cast skyrocketed, and the pressure hit Anissa the hardest. The grueling production schedule consumed her life, filming year-round and often working 7-day weeks to keep up with network deadlines. It was an exhausting routine for anyone, let alone a child. The show's popularity only continued to soar. It wasn't long before Family Affair dominated the ratings, becoming a #1 hit. Buffy, along with the other beloved characters, became household names, and Anissa's star power grew rapidly. Anissa's character, Buffy, was rarely seen without her iconic doll, Mrs. Beasley. The doll's popularity exploded, leading CBS to release a real-life version that became the top-selling toy in America. The Buffy craze didn't stop there. Her likeness was featured on coloring books, lunchboxes, children's clothing, and even a cookbook that proudly displayed her on the cover. Off-screen, Anissa was adored for her genuine kindness and her close bond with her younger brother, Paul. He often accompanied her to set, and the two shared an inseparable connection that left a lasting impression on everyone who met them. Whenever Anissa received a gift, she insisted her brother Paul get one too. If that wasn't possible, she would generously give her own gift to him, always wanting to share equally. The cast and crew of Family Affair frequently praised Anissa's talent and her genuinely kind nature. One co-star later described her as incredibly intelligent and a natural on set, adding that she would always befriend guest stars to make them feel welcome. Her charm didn't stop there. She may have even won over one of the biggest stars of her time. Despite her fame, Anissa only appeared in one feature film during her brief career. In 1969, at the peak of her stardom, she landed a small role in The Trouble with Girls, acting alongside none other than Elvis Presley. Though her filmography was limited, Hollywood still sought her out for her charm and charisma. Between 1967 and 1971, Anissa appeared as a guest on at least 5 talk shows, including The Merv Griffin Show. Her presence lit up every stage she stepped onto, leaving a lasting impression on audiences everywhere. In 1967, Anissa Jones had the honor of presenting an award at that year's Emmys, likely making her one of the youngest to ever do so. But despite her growing fame, the pressure began to take its toll on the young star. Family Affair was the dream job for most child actors, a steady gig with plenty of attention. But as the years passed, Anissa started to feel the weight of her fame. She grew tired of portraying Buffy, resenting the role for keeping her trapped in childhood. To her, the character started to feel childish and limiting. Soon, her discontent started to show on screen. In the later seasons of Family Affair, Anissa's performances became less energetic, and her once bright personality seemed to fade. This shift may have contributed to the show's declining ratings. By 1971, Family Affair was canceled after 5 successful seasons. At just 12 years old, Anissa was thrilled, eager to start the next chapter of her career. But despite her excitement, breaking free from the shadow of Buffy would prove to be far harder than she had anticipated. Anissa Jones auditioned for the role of Regan McNeil in the 1973 horror masterpiece The Exorcist. Playing a young girl possessed by a demon seemed like the perfect opportunity to break away from her Buffy image. But director William Friedkin passed on her, stating that he couldn't picture sweet, innocent Anissa in such a chilling role. The part ultimately went to Linda Blair. In another attempt to shed her typecast, Anissa auditioned for the role of Iris in Martin Scorsese's 1976 film Taxi Driver. The role was as far from Buffy as possible. 13-year-old Iris was a street worker who catches the attention of Travis Bickle, played by Robert De Niro. However, Scorsese seemed to face the same mental block as Friedkin, and the part went to Jodie Foster instead. This series of rejections began to take a toll on Anissa, and she started to spiral. As her teenage years unfolded with little professional success, Anissa sought out the freedom she had longed for. She turned to substance use and shoplifting as a way to cope and seek thrills. She tried various jobs, but none seemed to stick, and reports of erratic mood swings surfaced. By the time Anissa's parents' long custody battle was over, she and her brother had moved in with their father. But on March 7, 1974, just 4 days before Anissa's 16th birthday, her father passed away from cardiovascular disease. Though her mother, Mary, was technically her legal guardian, she was rarely present in the family home. This fueled Mary's frustration. Anissa would often vanish for days with friends that her mother disapproved of, believing they were a terrible influence. Mary's concern grew to the point where she would file missing person reports whenever she couldn't locate Anissa for several days. As Anissa entered adulthood, her mother's worry only deepened. On March 11, 1976, Anissa turned 18, making her entitled to the fortune she'd earned from Family Affair, money that had been held in a savings account for her. The payout was substantial, and Anissa wasted no time putting it toward her new passion: partying. As expected, Anissa's substance use escalated, and her life continued to spiral out of control. Having received just under $200,000, she managed to blow through most of it within 4 or 5 months. On August 27th, she took a trip with her boyfriend and friends to party in Oceanside, California. The night ended at the home of one of Anissa's 14-year-old friend's father. The following morning, August 28th, Anissa Jones was found dead from an overdose. The extent of her indulgence shocked even the coroner, who remarked that the overdose was one of the most extreme he had ever encountered in a young person. Anissa had always had a love for the sea. After a small private ceremony, her family had her body cremated, and her ashes were scattered over the Pacific Ocean. Among the items found at the scene of her death was an envelope containing the business address of Dr. Don Carlos Moschos. Inside, a detailed note listed the type and quantity of one of the substances found in Anissa's toxicology report. Dr. Moschos had reportedly been playing the role of Anissa Jones's feel-good doctor, providing her with illicit substances on demand. Before her death, Moschos was already under investigation for suspicious professional practices, and the evidence was piling up. When the news of Moschos' possible involvement in Anissa's death broke, the media began to flood in, digging for any damaging information they could find. Many people who worked in the same building as Moschos spoke about how popular his services were, noting the long lines often seen outside his office. Moschos seemed to work tirelessly, writing over 100 prescriptions a day. His lack of discretion about who he'd serve was evident. Despite being just 18 at the time of her death, Anissa fit the profile of Moschos' typical client. When a local news team visited Moschos' office, they found it packed with young people, many of them around Anissa's age. It became clear how she was able to obtain the lethal dose that took her life. Moschos made it shockingly easy for troubled teens to get their hands on dangerous substances. According to the report, all he required was a valid ID, and for just $5, he'd sell a prescription for whatever a patient wanted. With all the evidence piling up, authorities took action. Just 6 days after Anissa's body was found, Moschos was arrested at his office in Torrance, California. He was charged with illegally prescribing to the young actress and faced additional charges for multiple prescriptions written for profit. In a separate undercover investigation, he faced 11 more charges. But despite all the evidence, justice would never be served. Moshos, who was already in poor health, suffered from diabetes, hepatitis, and high blood pressure. On December 6, 1976, he was admitted to the hospital, where he died 3 weeks later. Just 4 months after his most famous patient's death, Anissa's family was determined to see justice. They sued Moshos' estate for $400,000. A 1979 verdict found the doctor 30% liable for Anissa's death, resulting in a payout of just $79,500 to her family. But the heartache didn't end there. In 1984, Anissa's mother, Mary, suffered yet another unimaginable loss. Her beloved son, Paul, overdosed on March 15th, just days after what would have been Anissa's 26th birthday. He was only 24. Anissa wasn't the only family affair star to suffer a tragic end. Her co-star, Sebastian Cabot, died of a stroke in 1977 at age 59. Another castmate, Brian Keith, tragically took his own life in 1997. These untimely deaths, including Anissa's, serve as a devastating reminder of the physical and mental toll that show business can take on its most vulnerable stars. And make sure to subscribe for more on. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you in the next video.